morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am your host Saskia, aka Sassy, and I'm bringing you another installment of How to Draw. In this episode I'm going to show you how to draw a very simple Irishman or leprechaun, whichever you'd like to call him. I'm going to be using a HB pencil, 2 fine liners, my trusted putty rubber, and then I will go on to colour him with my Winsor Newton Pro markers. If you'd like to see that, then just stay till the end. Just remember that what works for me might not work for you, and I've drawn him quite a few times now, so if you don't get him right on your first try, just remember that practice makes perfect. So step 1, I've drawn a curved line. Now I'm putting in the floor so I can judge how big I want this leprechaun to be, and then I'm going to the top, drawing a small line there just so I know how high I want him to be. From that top line I'm going to bring 2 slightly slanted lines down and meet them with the curved line. This is going to be his hat, so I'm giving him 2 kind of loop shapes at the back, and now I'm going to make the brim of his hat. So just mirroring that curved line just a small bit underneath. I'm going to draw a small square. This is going to be the outer edge of the buckle, and then I'm just going in and rounding off the corners of his hat, kind of eyeball what you think it should look like. Back to the buckle, I'm doing an inner square, and then 4 small lines coming from the buckle to the edge of the hat, and that's going to be the belt that you would see go around the hat, or like a sash, or I'm not really sure what it is. A few small details there, just a rectangle and then 2 circles. Now we're going to draw a big U shape, and this is going to be his beard. I use the points of, say, where the hat meets the brim to start off my beard. Then I draw a line down the center because I want to know where I want to put his nose. For his nose, I'm going to do a simple circle and then 2 kind of bumps coming out of it. I'll show you on a bigger piece of paper just so you can see what shape I'm drawing. So the circle and then the bumps. It's just more like an oval than a circle. Keep it nice and rounded because it is his nose. Don't forget you can pause this video at any time to catch up. I'm just doing it quickly so that I don't waste your time. We're going to add a small curve up and a small curve down, so like an A squashed down, and that's going to be his moustache detail. Then that line in the middle, and I'm going to take the outer edge just to mark where I want his shoes to be. So 1 lump like a mountain, and mirror that on the other side. And where the foot meets the ground, we're going to do a small triangle. That's going to serve for the middle of his foot. So then we slightly round 2 lines to the middle and 2 lines underneath what's the front of his boot, and then join the other part of his boot to his body. So from the toe part of his boot we're going to go on to the inside, where we're just going to do a small little lump as if it's the back where his ankle would be, and do that both sides. Then we return to his beard and we're going to put in some almost spikes, but it's just giving the hair of his beard a bit more movement. I kind of mirrored it on both sides, but you could just put in as little or as much detail as you want. Then I do it on the moustache outline that we've drawn in, and then just to add a bit of texture I do 1 big zigzag down the middle of his beard. His arms are 2 triangles, so you kind of try and measure out that you get them both the same size. A triangle and then a circle with a kind of curly bit on the inside. So you're going to curl and pull it back. So almost like an incomplete lowercase e. Now I'm just going to add a small bit of background, so the grass, just big chunky zigzags. Remembering that leprechauns are supposed to be quite small, so the grass would be really big behind him. So that's our super simple leprechaun in pencil. We're going to just add in a few small details, like small strokes on the sash or belt, whatever it is. We'll give it a bit of movement and stop it from looking so straight, and it'll look more like it's on top of the hat rather than a part of it. Once you're happy with the placement, wherever your pencil lines are, then I go in with a fine liner. The size I'm using today is a 0.5, and that's just because I'd like you to see the lines a lot darker. I normally use a 0.3 or a 0.4 to do the bigger lines, and then go to a 1 or a 2 for the smaller lines. So as I'm drawing here, I go over my pencil lines, but I do kind of alter it and adapt it if I think it would look better a slightly different way, or if it needs to be thicker or thinner, or like those two lines there were angled one way and I've angled them the opposite way to make the hat look a bit nicer. Using a fine liner definitely takes some practice. If you've only ever used pencil and this is your first time going over your pencil lines with a fine liner, you might find that they're quite uneven, that they're a bit jittery, but honestly, the more you use a fine liner and the more you practice, the better your line art will be. Don't ever worry if your finished line art looks nothing like your pencil drawing, because that happens quite often. It just evolves into a different piece of art as you're going along. The pencil lines are there as a guideline for you to follow and for an idea of where you want to go. Give yourself some time when you're drawing to study the piece that you're doing. I added in this clover here because I thought it would be a nice little touch, but I also added in a few movement lines here and there just to give the picture more motion. As with anything, sometimes you might add something that you don't like, and that's the idea of going in with a pencil first. But so long as you're having fun while you're drawing, then nothing is ever a mistake. You might not like your finished product, but just remember that every time you draw something, you are learning. Your hand is learning muscle memory, and so it's learning different ways to draw even simple things like a circle, which seemed difficult at first. And every time you draw a picture, say if you draw this one over and over and over, the first time you mightn't like it, but the 20th time you're so used to drawing it that you'll draw it without having to watch a tutorial, and you'll also be able to put in your own small details to make it more your picture. I've drawn this guy quite big because I wanted you to be able to see him on the piece of paper, but he also really looks really cute, small. So if you do journaling and you're looking for a theme for the month of March, then he's the perfect little man to have. And when you draw him small, sometimes I take out his boots and just give him the kind of mountain shapes at the bottom of his beard, so he looks really squished and really small, and he's super cute then. So I used the smaller, finer nib of the 0.02 to go in for the finer details, like the light highlights on his boots, or the soles of his shoes, or even just again some more movement lines. Using the finer tip can make the difference because it adds different dimensions to your drawing. So now to get rid of those pesky pencil lines, I use a putty eraser. Reason 1 is that they are super fun to play with. Reason 2 is that they do a really good job. And reason 3 is that they don't leave off any dust. So if you use a lot of erasers, then you know that if you rub them, there's this fine white dust comes off them. With a putty eraser, you don't get that. And anybody who's used a putty eraser knows how much fun it is to try and get it super clean again. So as you're rubbing off the pencil lines, the yellow will go quite black. And then if you pull it and pull it and pull it, like you would dough or Play-Doh, then it goes back to being its yellow colour. Then you have the added bonus of once you're finished with it, you get to try and squish it back in its original box to see if you can fit it back in and turn it into a square again. Ladies and gents, little things please little minds, and this pleases me a great deal. So that is our little man drawn, the pencil erased, our lines are completed. If you go through the drawing, you might see small little lines where you haven't connected them properly, but you'll usually pick them up as you're colouring. I've sped up the colouring for you because this is not a colouring tutorial and it's pretty much self-explanatory. I haven't done anything interesting with the colouring, just layering down a base colour. What I will do is put the pens and the colours that I've used in the description box, so that if you want to use the exact same colours and you have sets of pro markers, then you can use the same colours. But it's really surprising how colouring this guy in green makes him look like a leprechaun. If you're going for more of a gnome, then do him in blues and yellows, colour his beard in grey. It can transform the entire picture just depending on what colour you do him in. I have gone with the traditional kind of green hat and green coat and orange beard just because so many people have asked me to draw a leprechaun and I think they're super cute. Just keep in mind that if you are going to use alcohol markers like the Pro markers, like the IOIO markers, that they probably will bleed through your paper. So if you're thinking of using it in your journal, it might be an idea to draw it onto card and then cut it out and stick it into your journal, otherwise there's going to be bleed through in your pages. There's such a wide range of medium that you could use to colour this guy in. If you're drawing directly onto, say, a journal, then maybe think of colouring pencils, just so that there's no bleed through to the next page. If your journal paper can take it, maybe watercolours, that makes a fantastic looking picture. And also don't forget that you don't have to have super expensive mediums to make your picture look great. I'm just putting a complete base coat of all these colours on. I'm not doing anything fancy. Pro markers are a little bit more expensive, but I buy them as singles. So I have a few sets where I've got sets of 12s and sets of 6, but I also buy them as singles, which makes them quite a cheap marker to build up your collection. A small tip that I have for you is that if you go in and run along the lines with a light grey marker, it looks quite dark as it's being laid down first of all, but they make really good shadows. It doesn't make a mass amount of difference, but to me I think it just adds a little depth and a little something to the image. The next tip I'll give you is that a white pen can work wonders. There is a comparison video on my channel with some of the top brands of white pens and paint pens and gel pens. So if you are looking to find one that will work best for you, go and have a look at that video and see if you find a new white gel pen. I actually swapped from Posca paint pens to the Sigma pens because I like them better. So this is our leprechaun, fully finished, done, coloured. He looks quite grumpy, but that's okay. They're supposed to be, they're mischievous little men. If you do draw this, I would love to see it. The hashtag SassyColour2020. If you post it anywhere, just tag it with that and I'll be able to see it. A massive thank you to my Patreon members, to my colouring team, and to all you guys who are new to my channel and existing. Until the next video, look after yourselves, and as always, stay sassy.